Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about the process management and the process oriented improvement program. So everything regarding with respect to process is what we are talking about it. The improvement program and the management. So what is the agenda? It is the power of adopting the process point of view. That is very important. Irrespective of people who man the position, it is not important. It is the process by which a system has been installed, a system has been functioning is more important. So you're removing the human factor almost already from that particular system by installing a stipulated process thereby. So we are talking about Six Sigma. So we'll talk about definition, the cost, revenue rationale, framework, and key success factor. The process management, the principles of managing, controlling, improving processes. We are talking about workflow orientations, how job flow through an organization. Important elements in management process is the design, is the continuous improvement in program, is the control system, is the people management and the change management thereof. Origin in the field of study of quality management. The process control is a fundamental component, historically strong manufacturing focus, which is equally valuable in services, equally important in services. Though it was meant for the production system, but it can be actually replicated even in the service oriented organization. So what are we looking into is the process design, continuous improvement, control system, people management, and change management thereof. So the weakness of a functional organization, the division of labor paradigm, focus is on the skills, on the resource utilization, rather on the work output. Reward system tailored for functional unit and not the overall firm that we talk about it. Group behavior and culture fostering is a us versus them mentality. This is what we need to remove, get rid of. So we are talking about decentralizations, firms within firms. You have control, overall control, and then there are sub-controls or subunits functioning on with their own agenda. Strengths of the process point of view is the creating a focus on the output as an end objective. So it is we are talking about reduced risk for sub-optimization, leads to transparency of how contribution from individual workers fit into the larger scheme of things. The big picture encourages improvement, encourages empowerment, helps break down barrier between department, creates a sense of loyalty towards process and balance the loyalties within the functional department. Now, what are we looking into it? If we can classify it as phase one and phase two and phase three as an initiation, definition, and control. We're talking in phase one, we are talking about initialization, assigning process ownership, and analyzing boundaries and interface where they interact with one another. This is the boundary that goes around it. We're talking about the process authority, scope, interface, hands off are determined. In phase two is what we are talking about the process, as in the workflow documentation, baseline for process evaluation. Phase three is all about controls, establishment of control, development and implemental issues, and feedback. Control, another form of mechanism. So we are talking about means and procedures for the process and monitoring. Feedback and control are established thereby. Let me recount phase by phase. Phase number one is initiation. Objective is to clarify the process scope, determine as to who is to do what, do, the responsibility thereof. Process ownership needs someone in charge to make things happen. Responsibility of the process owner, accountability, authority of process operation, and improvement. Facilitating problem solving and make sure corrective action is taken. Mediating between the line managers with overlapping authorities. Guidelines for assigning process ownership. Managers with most resources are or most work invested in the process. Managers that is affected with the process fails. Process owners have high enough position to see how processes fit into the bigger picture. Needs cloud to solve functional bickering, functioning disturbances, interference. Analyzing the process boundaries and probably the interface. Now, this is an interface with functional A and functional B. So this is what we talk about it. Process boundary defines the process of entry and exit, where input flows in and output flows out, defines a clear picture of the process scope, defines the external influences. Now, what we'll talk about the internal interface, hands off point after the process boundary. After one point, this particular process hands off and this particular process takes in. So we are talking the most critical where the process functional or organizational borders. Most process inefficiencies are related to insufficient interface and communication. That's a lack of coordination. Important to identify the critical interface as early as possible. The customer product supplier model, CPS model, useful approach for resolving interface issues. Remember, these are my interfaces. These are my interfaces, aptly named input, and this is the interfaces aptly output. This is what the organization is all about. It. This is what producer's requirement. This is what customer requirement is all about. It. So applying for CPS model or customer producer supplier model to all critical interfaces. To view the process as a chain of customers, coordinating achievement by understanding internal and external customers, involve negotiating an agreement between all the parts. Phase number 2 is definition. Understand the documents and the process outflow, thereby facilitate communication and understanding the process operation. Let us talk about defining the process. Documentation of the work contained in individual activities, usually in terms of verbal descriptions. Operating procedures or SOP, standard operating procedures. Documentation of process flow, usually a flowchart based methods. Combination of verbal and geographical description. Now, what are we looking at? Common information gathering techniques, interviews with people working in the process, group or individual. Analytical observation, thereby what you understand, and review of the relevant documentation. So this will give me the framework of process altogether, the documentation of the content, documentation of the workflow, documentation of the technique utilized. So phase 3, let us come to the phase 3, the control. We are talking about establishing a system of controlling the process, providing the feedback of the people involved into it. So establishing control points. Control points are activities such as inspection, verification, auditing, measuring and counting, usually considered business value adding. Without control points and control system, the only way of assessing process performances is customer feedback. The process ends up in a reactive mode. Poor quality is discovered absolutely late. Location of control point is determined by criticality, impact on customer satisfaction, feasibility, and physically economically viable or not. Let us go to the second phase of control. We are talking about implementing the measurements, developing the measurements, involved in answering certain question. Let's say, what is measured and can be controlled? Probably FedEx says the delivery point, the speed of delivery. What is currently been measurable as in available data? What is there? What is the standard or actual performances being recorded as? Can the business case be made for a new measurement system? Can we improve upon it? Probably. What is the appropriate sampling method and sampling size and the frequency of measurements, of implementing the measurements or doing the audit? Measurement should be meaningful, accurate, and timely. Statistical and graphical tool needs to turn data into information. 5 measurement categories, measures of conformance to give specification. Response time is to give lead time and cycle time. We're talking about service level, degree of availability, repetitions, frequency of recurring events such as reverb, cost, quality, PAF, internals and external. That is what we are talking about here. The last phase of control is the performance feedback and control from the customer point of view of critical importance, stabilizing and improving the process. Remember, objective of control and corrective are to regulate and maintain a certain quality performances, certain level of performances, improving, aiming at reducing variability or raising the above average performance level. Feedback is important enabler for corrective action because that will tell it to you what you have failed to notice on an internal audit altogether. The feedback, the external customer will give it to you exactly what you are looking for, what they are looking for, what value point or price point they are comfortable with. People in the process needs to understand how the actions affects the overall process, the performances. Feedback should be performed in a constructive and possibly not by punitive manner. Constructive feedback makes people feel better that they matter, encourage involvement and commitment thereof. So Six Sigma is originally a company-wide initiative at Motorola for breakthrough in improvement, not only in terms of quality, but also in terms of productivity. Launched in 1987, rendered Motorola a Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Awards 1988. The ongoing success of Six Sigma program has attracted a growing number of prestigious firms to approach. Example, Ford, GE, Amex, Honeywell, Nokia, Philips, to name a few. Broad definition of Six Sigma programs is a company-wide strategic initiative for the process improvement in both manufacturing and service organization with a clear objective of reducing cost, and increasing revenues. Fierce focus on the bottom line thereby. What are we looking at? We are talking about technical definition of Six Sigma, reducing the variability. Look, what is it? This is how the normal curve or the bell curve is noticed. Everything is shifting, but can we reduce it to the Six Sigma level? Now, Six Sigma level says everything should be within this curve altogether, and that is what accuracy is all about it. So, assuming the process output is normally distributed with the mean mu and the standard deviation, the distance between the target value and the closest specification is the Six Sigma, sorry, and the process of the mean is allowed to drift as 1.5 mu of sigma as on when on basis. So this is what we are going around here. So reducing the cost by increasing the efficiency, the process efficiency has an immediate effect on the bottom line. More profit, more profit. The Six Sigma efficiency loop, what are we looking into it? We are talking about variations as an improvement in projects, which will lead to reduced cost. That means higher yield or increased profit. Cycle times will be committed, will be reduced, and which will again further live back to improved projects. And this goes on and on and on, and it improves not only the productivity, not only the profitability, but also commitment to the quality and gets ensured. Six Sigma efficiency of rational, the oriented around the dimensions of variation, cycle time, and yield. Variation can be divided, remember, into two types: common causes or random causes, special causes or non-random causes. So, what are the common causes? Absolutely, which might happen or which is taken into consideration. And then there are special or non-random causes, which are because of special circumstances. COVID-19 spread across the world, special circumstances. A war which has been yielding into a particular economy, special circumstances. So non-random variations are relatively few. Identify root cause. First step in reducing the overall variation is to eliminate the non-random variation by removing its root cause. Random variation, the result of different causes inherent in the process and can only be affected by changing the process design thereby. Variation, important concepts in understanding the impact of variation: dispersion, predictability, centering. Dispersion is the magnitude of variation in measured process characteristic. We're talking about predictability. Do the measured process characteristics belong to the same probability distribution over a period of time? For a predictable process, the dispersion refers to the width of the predictable dispersion process. That is what we are looking into it. Centering, how well the process aligned to the process target value. Variation, ideally the process should be predictable. We should be able to understand of what we are coming up with low dispersion and well centered, more or less correct answer. Standard approach for reducing variability in Six Sigma program: eliminate the special causes, variation to reduce overall dispersions, improve predictability, reduce dispersion of the predictable process altogether, center the process of the specific target thereby. Six Sigma uses traditional tools for quality, process, control, analysis. Basic statistical tool for data analysis is the 7QC quality control tools. The cycle time or the yield time. What are we looking into? The lead time or the response time is the yield cycle time. The moment you receive an order and the moment you service that order, this is the time that has been spent. Yield is productivity, amount of output per unit of input or per unit of time is the yield that goes around it. Improvement in cycle time and yield follows the same tactic for variations: gain predictability, reduce dispersion, and center to the target accurately on target. The target is usually broadly defined: minimize cycle time and maximize yield. Six Sigma principles improved in average cycle time, and yield should not be made at the expense of increased variation. What are we looking into it? We are talking about sales volume. Sales volume closely related to the market shares or the sales prices. Revenue contingent of how well the firm can satisfy the external customers' requirement. An important Six Sigma factors is the focus on internal and customer requirement in every single improved project. What are we looking into it? We are looking about variations, improving project customer satisfaction. What are we look at here? We improve the projects, we improve the yield, we improve the cycle time. Improve project means reducing cost time. Improving yield means increasing profit. What is cycle time is all about commitment. So this is what we are talking about: it increasing shares and potentials of higher prices. Now, the centered around the discipline and quantitative oriented improvement and methodology as DMAC, or define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. This is what we are talking about, the improved mechanism as on when on basis. The bottom line focuses on a big dollar impact, encourages and maintains top management commitment. Emphasis is on and the consistent use of unified and quantitative approach to process improvement. The DMAC methodology provides a common language so that experiences and success can be shared throughout the organization. Create an awareness that the decision should be based on factual data. The emphasis on understanding and satisfying customer needs creates focus on doing the right things, right data. Anecdotal information is placed by factual data, thereby the completion of the project, the right people, the right tools. What are we looking at? We are talking about careful selection of projects, people combined with the hands-on training in using statistical tool in real project. With this, I come to an end of this video. Thank you for watching the same.